The high price of property means increasing numbers of mates are teaming up to get into developing.
We decided to go out for Sunday lunch. We had a few too many beers and decided that, you know what, this property development lark doesn't seem all that hard.
The trouble is, the stresses of developing can put your friendship right on the line.
Right, watch it!
Do you find that he pressurises you into working harder than is physically possible?
Can I do that? He's never here.
Oh, are you never here?
I'm here as much as I can be.
Tonight on Property Ladder, I'm meeting friends who decide to join forces and split the cost of developing. Sounds a great idea over a pint of beer, but is it really just a whole load of trouble? In Mansfield, Nottinghamshire, part-time bouncers Danny Smith and Sean Spencer are taking on this two-bedroom Victorian house that might look a cinch from the outside, but inside it needs a huge amount of work. And what's more, the boys are hoping to do it all on their own.
You see these people making money and you think, I can do that, or I could do it better, you know, and thought, give it a go.
"80 miles away in Telford, couples Keith and Wendy Munro and Pete and Liz Chapp have just ganged up to develop this massively problematic 70s property. The front of the house is horribly outdated. Inside, the layout is as awkward as I've seen, and out back, the garden is too steep to use. Making it all appeal won't be easy. Pete, a kitchen fitter, is taking on the skilled labour. Keith, a business manager, will run the project, while Liz and Wendy are in charge of design. It sounds organised, but with a development as difficult as this, it needs to be. It's on a very steep hill, isn't it, this? He wouldn't want to carry a lot of shopping up. Well, it's kind of uninspiring, really, isn't it, your house?
Yeah, the property's very much stuck in the 70s.
Look, you're going to have to do something pretty spectacular to the front.
We believe we can make it really beautiful. We're all very good at organising. Keith's a project manager, and we sort of break the back of the work together as well. So
we got pissed in the pub on a Sunday and decided to go into property developing.
OK, so this was born from a day of drinking.
Oh yes, a Sunday lunch in Shrewsbury.
Oh, that's all right then. So everything will be plain sailing.
Absolutely.
Always, isn't it always?
To be honest, no. And the figures won't help either. The property sat on the market for 2.5 years before they bought it for £210,000. They have a tiny £35,000 budget and hope to sell for £280,000, way above any property like it in the area. If they do, they'll split a £35,000 profit 4 ways. And have you come to a conclusion about your plans? Because, I mean, it's a very awkward house, and there are 4 of you, which means there's an awful lot of opinions.
In the end, we came to what we thought was
It's taken a few bottles of wine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're there.
And this is what they've come up with. It's an upside-down house with 2 small bedrooms and a shower room on the ground floor. Here, the options are limited to a simple refurb. Upstairs, though, it's a real pig's ear. There's a bathroom, undersized kitchen, dining room and lounge leading straight into a 3rd bedroom. That's both too small to be a master and too close to the living areas for comfort. But their plans are limited to installing 2 Juliet balconies and knocking through the kitchen, and will do little to really improve the property. It's awkward, the upstairs layout here. You've got to have a bedroom and a bathroom up here, and I accept that because there aren't enough bedrooms. But a better layout would be to zone your living rooms and kitchens together and have your bedrooms and bathrooms in a different zone. I think grouping together the living and sleeping areas would dramatically improve both spaces. I would devote one side of the house to a proper master suite and in the other, a far more spacious and flexible living, dining, eating zone. All that's quite a change to the original plans. So what do you reckon to that?
It's one of those things, you know, you've got to do something, but what?
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't think we were thinking outside the box enough.
That's right.
Yeah.
God knows I wasn't.
But you can see that it isn't.
Yeah.
It isn't great. The
It's
layout.
weird.
No,
It's just
it's
sort of
strange.
It's certainly worth investigating.
Okay. The other major problem with the property is the inaccessible back garden. The plan is to excavate right into the hillside to create a curved patio area. But that means shifting earth and building a retaining wall. Never a cheap option. A less costly solution would be to build a large decked area straight out of the hillside. It would provide both more space and more profit. I think it could look really quite beautiful. Have I?
Yep.
That's because you're Canadian.
I'm
You have
sold.
gorgeous things like that. in
Timber
Canada.
decking, gotta love it.
I'm just wondering if it's going to block a lot of light out of the house.
I think if you stand out there and you see where it is, I don't think it will make much difference. And let's be honest, once you've opened all this up, you've got this amazing light coming from the front. You're not sure, though, are you?
I'm not convinced, but
No.
we'll take a look.
Yeah, no.
I think we need to stand in the garden with some planks and sort of see
Yeah.
how it's going to...
I don't think it will be as bad as you think. I think what you're thinking is it'd be like a big wall out there. But I don't think it would be. My ideas call for a completely different approach to the whole development. But I hope they can see how much value it could add.
It's going to be more work than we'd envisaged.
I think her suggestions are absolutely amazing. Great, that's exactly what I wanted to see.
Because obviously decking is not cheap. We've still got to think about how much it's going to cost.
Just for consideration at the moment.
I'm pricing up timber tomorrow.
These four need to come together and adapt their plans. If not, I honestly believe they could struggle to make any profit at all. In Mansfield, Sean and Danny are also starting out with a tricky situation. Sean's the only one with any DIY know-how, but working days as a joiner and nights as a bouncer means his time on site will be limited. So he'll be relying on the less experienced Danny to run the show.
He says he's been to college, learnt this, learnt that, so I haven't seen any of his work yet and I hope he can do it, so I just got to trust him on that, and I've known him for a long time, so there's got to be some trust there.
I am quite stupid, but when it comes to money, I'm actually pretty good.
I'm not sure that's borne out by the finances. The house was bought for £58,000. They planned to spend just £8,000 doing it up, but hoped to smash the ceiling price by selling for £80,000. That would still only make them a £14,000 gross profit. With such narrow margins, they'll have to keep a tight grip on the budget.
We haven't actually talked about how we're going to sort the money out yet. We'll just probably pay for things and then keep the receipts, and then at the end, the person who's, well, I don't know, just collect the receipts in and pay back the money the person spent.
We're just going to just go at it and see where it takes us and just keep working till it's done.
Sean and Danny are well and truly winging it, and in my experience, that never works. In Mansfield, friends Danny Smith and Sean Spencer are in the first week of their development.
Wild man on the loose. Why you took that off?
Because you've got to re-skirt it and re-orchestrate everything.
What, everywhere?
Yeah.
This unlikely developing duo have set themselves a near impossible challenge. They've got just 8 weeks and $8 grand to create a record-breaking £80,000 property. You plan on trying to break the top price in the road? Yeah. It's kind of quite a big call. It's going to have to do something pretty special with it.
No, I think the finish that we're going to do, and the fact that it's a new kitchen, a complete new bathroom. You know, you basically be walking into a new house. So I think we can call for that amount.
So you're going to have to really keep on top of everything you spend, because it is quite a small budget, that.
Small budget, but it's a small house.
Yeah, and you're two big, strong guys. The house is a classic Victorian 2 up, 2 down. Upstairs, the options are limited to giving the 2 bedrooms and a bathroom a thorough overhaul. The ground floor has 2 receptions to the front and a small kitchen and an outside loo to the back. The idea is to knock through the rear area to create a large kitchen. This will certainly appeal in a starter home, and I have no real concerns about the plans. It's lumping the majority of this sizable task on Danny's inexperienced shoulders that worries me.
How do you 2 know each other then?
I used to hang around with his younger brother because we went to school together, so I've always sort of known Sean. When I started working as a doorman as well, I used to work with Sean, so we got to know each other better.
So you go back a long way?
Yeah.
And would you say you're really good friends?
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah?
If you can trust someone to watch your back, you are mates.
Trust's a good place to start, but now comes the hard work, with the first major job of the development, knocking through the kitchen.
That's a good shot, actually. It was the only time I wasn't actually aiming for the window and I put it through.
The fun doesn't last long as it becomes clear that removing a structural wall is really about hard graft. And apart from one unpaid helper, Danny's the only one who's turned up to do the job.
Sean's in bed at the moment. I thought he'd have been here by now, because I told him I was going to be at 8:30, and he says he won't be that early, but I thought about 10, but it's about 11:30 now, so still in bed.
When Sean finally arrives, he's a whole 3 hours late.
I was in bed. I finished work at 2 this morning, so I had to get some sleep. I'm back there at 5, so...
Their combined muscle power makes short work of the wall. But then Sean disappears back to work, leaving Danny on his own once more. Unfortunately, to deal with an expensive supporting steel that has gone AWOL.
My mate had it in his van, ready for bringing over when he'd finished work on a building site, and someone stole his van with all his tools and the lintel in.
Work has hardly started on the kitchen, and then it grinds to a halt. This is already looking like a haphazard development that Danny could find very difficult to run on his own. Over in Telford, it's week 1 of a 16-week development that our team of 4 are hoping will make them a £35,000 profit. Keith is project manager and leading from the front.
No, I'm doing the cleaning, they're doing the work.
It's a quick start, and an equally quick decision has been reached on the plans.
We've got all the boxes ticked, and I think we're good to go with Sarah's suggestion.
That means a brand new layout inside, and outside hiring a contractor to build a decked area straight out of the steep garden. But that's when the team's strategy starts to unravel. The problem is Keith has a day job to go to, and so isn't around to supervise the builder. It's Liz who realises things are not quite as they should be.
Well, I'm not very happy with the decking because I was expecting it to be much wider. The original plan was for it to be spreading almost across the whole width of the garden. Problem is that I'm not very good at confrontation, and I can't shout at people. It's not in me.
With Wendy by her side, Liz musters up the courage to confront the builder.
I mean, like, I wonder why that bottom level couldn't have just gone out a little bit wider to give it a bit more space. Is the, you know, what was...
We was going to go further with the decking, but Keith said to me, I don't want any major soil destruction. And at the end of the day, I took it, you know, he's the one in charge.
Yeah.
My plan was a good-sized deck where 6 people can sit. But this isn't big enough to swing a kitten. When Keith finally gets back on site, it's time for a team talk.
It's not great, is it? What happened? I thought you were going to have decking right the way across, so you've got a decent area. Did you not have a drawing of what you wanted?
I think that was one of the mistakes we made, was not having a drawing made.
Right.
Because he explained it to the guys how it would look, and they were happy with how it was going to look.
Right. There's ways to go forward, and there's lessons to learn from what's happened. And the lessons to learn are that you need a drawing, or you need to be here, and you need to be on top of situations. this isn't big enough, the deck, you need to fix it. So yeah, I think ideally I would take it down to the second post to this level if you could. Let's be honest, look at the view. I mean, it's so worth doing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
No development can function without a clear set of plans. By the following week, though perhaps a little late, Keith has them drawn up. It makes all the difference to the builder, though.
Yeah, I'm happy with the way it's been resolved, and at the end of the day, the client is always right. There's no doubt about that.
It's clear that Keith can push the project forward if he's on site. So it's really unfortunate that as soon as he's sorted out the decking, he leaves on a lengthy 3-week sailing holiday, taking Wendy with him.
I guess part of us does feel a bit guilty, but we've had this holiday booked for such a long time now. And yeah, you know, I'm going to miss the place while we're away because I'm going to want to see what's going on, so...
Wendy's laughing it off, but Liz and Pete are in the less amusing position of having to run the development all on their own. In Mansfield, 3 weeks in, the project is also heading for choppy water. It's taken a week to replace the stolen lintel, and then the boys have a complete aberration.
That way.
Without a hard hat in sight and only a couple of friends to help, Danny and Sean set about installing the steel support. The boys have neither the experience nor the safety gear to do this structural work. It's a serious accident waiting to happen.
Watch it. Try not to drop it on Dan this time.
The boys escape without injury, but the root of the problem remains. A rock-bottom budget that hasn't allowed for any professional help. For building and materials, there's a tiny £1,000, and a chunk of that has already gone on the new replacement lintel. They've set aside a totally unrealistic £750 for the kitchen and bathroom. £2,000 for all the doors and windows, and a meagre £1,200 for the plumbing and heating. Fixtures and fittings have been costed at £750, and with fees of £2,300, the total is a quite unbelievably low £8,000. What's worse is there's no contingency for the overspends that hit every development, especially if you don't do your homework. First, it's the windows.
When we measured them up, we found that there was like not standard size, making the price probably getting on for double what we was expecting.
Then it's the damp proofing in the kitchen. On this project, every penny is vital, and I want to know how the boys are keeping track of rising costs.
Now, I've got your initial budget here, which looks kind of small, but you've worked it out very carefully. How are you doing with it? Are you on track?
A few things have pushed us over, but a bit out of our hands.
Is one of you doing accounts for this project?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I hand him all the receipts as I spend, and he obviously has got his own receipts.
So you just spend out of your own accounts when you need to buy something?
Yeah.
So. Well, I have to say, it does seem a slightly hit-and-miss way of doing it, and in a way it would be better to open a bank account, both put the same amount of money in and use that bank account.
No, but the way we trust each other, we're not trying to rip each other off, and it's just easier that way, rather than looking around.
Well, at least if you're going to do it that way and not have one account so that it's all set up as a business, at least you need to keep the receipts together. So I bought you these, so you can put your receipts
Thank you.
in these, and at least keep them in one place.
Thank you very much.
That's a pleasure.
I've been developing with 2 partners for years, and trust me, having your accounts in order is crucial. Good financial housekeeping helps when calculating your profit, and it makes sense when the accountant comes knocking on the door.
If there's more than one of you, agree at the outset who's going to manage the accounts, but that shouldn't absolve your partners of any responsibility. Petty cash can easily spiral out of control. It's worth buying a lockable cash box and a petty cash book and recording every single £10 that you spend. Before you spend thousands on fancy fixtures and fittings, invest some money in a decent filing and accounting system. Make sure that you keep it up to date and it tallies. Knowing what you owe is essential. And finally, keep and file absolutely everything. You never know when you might need to refer to it.
In Telford, Liz and Pete are carrying the development on their own, while Keith and Wendy are away on a 3-week holiday. Liz is meant to be doing the decorating, but some of the replacement windows were delivered without glazing and can't be installed, and so she's been able to do very little.
I find the delay a little bit frustrating in parts because I know that if we'd had windows in some rooms, then I could have moved along a lot more quickly and we could have been further on ahead, but it's just something you have to live with.
The windows have been left sitting in the garage for weeks holding up the build, and I can't help thinking that without Keith, this development seems a rudderless ship.
They actually asked us to take photos of the place while they were away. I said, why? It's going to look exactly the bloody same when you come back.
This is no way to run a development. The day Keith and Wendy are back from holiday, I call an emergency site meeting.
Keith is a fairly elusive man. So where is he right at the moment?
He's on his way as we speak.
So we are actually going to see him?
Yes, he will definitely be here.
Well, that'll be good. So you've been away for 3 weeks now. Aren't you a bit jealous?
Yeah, very jealous, yeah.
No.
We wanted to go. They wouldn't let us, so we had to stay here and work.
Hey! You're here.
Greetings.
Hello. How are you?
Very well. How you doing?
You're
Right?
looking disgustingly brown.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. That's the rust.
Yeah, that's too many holidays. I'm not going to be nice to you because you've been sunning yourself in a gorgeous place. That's quite outrageous.
Isn't it just?
Personally, especially if this was my first project, I probably wouldn't have gone on a 3-week holiday in the middle of it. In fact, I have actually cancelled holidays. Especially when you get to a really crucial point of a site, you have to be there to coordinate them all. Do you think it's affected by you not being here all the time?
Perhaps. I don't know. I mean, it's too early to say.
One thing's for sure, with Keith back, the site springs to life. He's a project manager in his business, and the skills show as he works out a creative solution to the windows with Steve the builder.
I've spoken to Steve today, and what we've agreed is that he's going to start doing the windows no matter what, without the glazing units if they haven't turned up, and we'll just board them up for the time being. So at least then we can get them in, and then we can get the plaster in and get things moving. Hopefully by the end of this week we should see a dramatic change.
Keith definitely has talent for project management. I just hope he sticks around to use it. In Mansfield, absent friends have been causing a problem as well. The 8-week schedule is up and the property's nowhere near finished. And that's because most of the time Danny's flying solo with no help from Sean.
If I was available more, I think it would have been done by now. I think the problem is I didn't think I'd be as busy as I am.
Sean's got the skills but no time. Danny's got the time but none of the skills. And that's why Sean's insisting on bringing in a professional to tile the bathroom.
Sean thinks we've agreed on the tiles, but because I'm always here and he's not, I think otherwise. So all I'll do is just tile it while he's not here.
Danny goes ahead and decides to do the tiling job himself on the sly.
I come in the week, one night, and to find out that he's attempted himself. The gaps in the tiles all over the shop. He's forgot to use spacers.
I know Sean's not happy with the bathroom, but I don't know, I thought it looked all right. So he can whinge all he likes, but he can do all the tiling from now on. So.
Sean brings in his dad, an experienced tiler, to rip out Danny's work and do it all over again. Just when the development should be pushing forward, it's actually going backwards. In Telford, it's a different story. Keith's been back from holiday for a month, is spending more time on site, and inside, good progress is being made. Outside, though, the unfashionable front hasn't been touched. It needs a complete facelift or the property could be very hard to sell.
Where the two windows are, the two big windows at the top, we're going to put French doors in there with Juliet balconies in front. Where the white stripe is, it's going to be red cedar.
I hate to say it, guys, but changing the windows and refreshing the cladding just isn't going to cut the mustard. In Telford, Wendy, Liz, Pete and Keith are 3 months into their 16-week schedule, but there's still one major issue they haven't dealt with. The 70s frontage needs a complete overhaul. But as the property is in a conservation area, they don't think the look can be dramatically altered.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
How are you?
All right.
Could you give me a hand?
Yeah.
What's particularly unfashionable is the garish red brick and the industrial paving stones. Both are real profit killers and have to be dealt with. First up, the paving.
I don't think at the moment, with what you're planning on doing, you're going to get anyone to really come through the front door. You can go further, you can be more daring, you can be more adventurous and do something with these. Have you got a plan to do anything with them?
Relay them.
Relay them?
Yeah.
Jet wash them.
Because they are painfully municipal at the moment.
They
and
are.
to be honest, they don't really do anything for the front of this house.
Because it's a conservation area and it's a heritage site, anything that fronts a highway, which we have down the below, means that we're going to have to put planning permission in.
I've spoken to the planning officers and they're happy with changes to this being a minor amendment, and a minor amendment takes no time at all.
It's definitely worth talking to planners and seeking their advice. Here, one simple call, and I've discovered 3 approved materials: sandstone, reconstituted concrete and granite. My favourite is sandstone, and its soft, welcoming tones.
It's going to be a vast improvement on this, and we thought we were just stuck with that, but we hadn't really considered that sort of an option.
We didn't think they'd even let us do that, so...
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Excellent, yeah, 10 out of 10 for that one, Sarah.
Excellent.
That's the paving down, and now it's the brickwork to go.
You are actually also entitled to render and paint the brickwork on the front and the side and the back of this. And I do think it would make a dramatic difference to have a colour on this.
I think that's the best way forward.
It sounds like everyone's happy with all those plans.
Yep.
Yeah.
Massive thumbs up, then.
Woohoo!
Cool.
The following week, scaffolding goes up for a spanking new facelift. It will add £3,000 to the budget, but that's a small price to pay to get buyers through the front door. In Mansfield, getting people into the property seems a long way off. The 8-week schedule has now doubled, and it's putting a strain on Sean and Danny's relationship. They're quibbling about everything, from who should fit the back door to the fireplaces.
Sean thinks we should spend the money on proper fireplaces because people like them, but I don't know. I've got a nice fireplace at home, but probably I never put it on about twice.
This project is going nowhere fast, and it's all getting a bit ridiculous.
Do you find that he pressurises you into working harder than is physically possible?
Can I do that? He's never here.
Oh, are you never here?
I'm here as much as I can be.
I mean, you're not far off starting to put the house back together, really. Are you in agreement about what you're putting back?
It'd be better to just have decorative fireplaces rather than actual working fire. Sean wants actual working fireplaces.
People expect a fireplace in it, you know, when they walk in, they, you know, expect certain things in a house, and fireplace even being one of them.
Why don't you, instead of putting an actual insert and surround it, you just get a freestanding grate that you can put in there, and then if someone wants a fire, they can have a fire, and if they don't, they can put candles in. So, are you both happy with that? Or not?
I'm happy with whatever's cheapest and looks all right.
A simple grate is a good budget solution for a fireplace. But Sean's less convinced by Danny's attempts to get him to fit the back door.
So why are you reluctant to fit it?
It's just time-consuming, and me having the shortest amount of time, it's just another job that's added on to the list of jobs that I have to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's as a standard guide to hang a door, an outside door, and fit all its locks and fit its hinges and cut it to the right size. It's a day's work.
I was expecting him to do it in an hour.
Right. Can you do it in an hour?
No.
Hey, can't you finish the house in an hour?
I think he wants me to.
Sean wants to pay for outside help, and at just £150, I agree it's worth it to get the development moving. As for Danny, he's come up with a painfully familiar solution.
Sean wanted to get the back door professionally fitted, so I just told him I'd arranged someone to hang the door when I haven't, and I've just had a go myself.
When it comes to DIY, Danny's a bit like a bull in a china shop. One hour later, it all comes crashing down.
Hello, Sally. James says to call about the door if we get stuck, and I'm stuck.
Have you got any fixings in at all? No. Get a fixing in, really. One of those multi-purpose hammers, is it?
Danny calls in a builder friend to help, but still spends a whole 12 hours wrestling with the door. It's left to Sean once again to discover the worst.
It went to fit it and then couldn't shut it or lock it, and found out that it put the door frame in all out of square. So I ended up one night, instead of doing a ceiling that I come to do, trying to do this back door.
Doing work beyond your limitations is about as false as economies come. Unfortunately, this is one lesson Danny is learning the hard way. In Telford, resources are being used far more wisely. Keith's brought in a team of builders to revamp the outside, and inside he's marshalling the decoration.
Well, if you fill in that just needs polyfiller stuff.
But it needs sanding as well, I think.
Now, though, it's Liz and Wendy's turn to lead from the front, because it's their job to dress this property to maximum effect.
I think we should have some bright colours in here, furniture-wise.
I don't know. I mean, the property development Bible always sort of says, keep it all neutral.
It's a dead cert that dressing a property well can lift the sale price. But how bold you go is currently a bit of a hot potato. And with the girls so far apart, I'm coming along to give my advice. So, Liz, you've chosen this red leather sofa.
Yes.
And Wendy, you've gone for the cream leather sofa over there.
She's very similar, just a different colour.
I'd go for this one.
Yes!
Everybody thinks that I'm always lecturing people about staying bland and staying neutral. You can still introduce colour and flavour into a development, and actually it's a very good way to do it with a classic piece of furniture like this. It's also worth thinking about furniture that you can move from development to development, especially when choosing the dining room table. So you've both gone for glass tables with leather chairs. Well, it's good to see you agreeing, but I don't agree with either of you.
Okay.
I think that a glass table would be a nightmare to get in and out of different developments, and it wouldn't make more than two before it was broken. I think you'd be better off going for a wooden table, and there's some over there. They have leaves in, so if you have a smaller development, you can make it smaller. A bigger development, you can make it bigger. Finally, is it worth paying out for a bed with knobs on? In reality, all you're doing with a bed is showing where a bed would fit. So actually, an old bed that you might have hanging around in the garage or in the small ads or friends chucking out will do just as well. Spend more money elsewhere.
Good idea.
I can't wait to see the end product. It's going to look fabulous, isn't it?
It's going to look gorgeous,
Absolutely.
isn't it?
In Mansfield, the development's schedule has tripled from 8 weeks to 5 whole months. But at long last, it's finished. And to be honest, the end result is a bit of a mixed bag. In the kitchen, a cheap laminate work surface, a budget hob, and some rough finishing feels inadequate even for a starter home. Next door, the dining room has cleaned up well, and the living room even better. A light palette of colours combine well with the red feature wall for a bright, youthful feel. The only problem is this room has a hidden nasty. Oh, a lovely big sitting room. What's that, though?
Fire.
What? So you put a wood burner in? Oh, my word. It's an electric wood burner.
Electric stove.
Why did you put that in?
You said to have a fire. So I listened.
I see.
So it's your fault?
Yeah, I meant a grate, isn't it? Grate that you put logs on.
I know, but...
And so you're happy with it? Now you see it, or...?
It's small.
but warm.
Small and a little strange.
Fireplace aside, the fresh feel continues up into the bathroom and the 2 bedrooms. Unfortunately, so does the poor finish. There are simply too many signs of low-quality DIY. There's no doubt developing turned out to be much harder than the boys ever imagined.
So now it's all finished. Are you pleased it's over? Have you...?
Definitely pleased.
I think that there are areas of the finish which probably do have room for improvement.
Was your first development perfect?
No, God, no, not at all. No, that's why I know it can get better.
We know what we do different. We know where we could have saved money and where, well, when you price one up next time, what certain things had cost that we didn't know before.
You were hoping to spend 8,000, weren't you? You've ended up spending 11.
Yeah, but it's only 11. That's taking into account, like, future mortgage payments, giving it time to sell.
There's no denying the boys spent an incredibly small amount of money. Building materials went from £1,000 to just £1,500. The bathroom and kitchen rose to £1,800. The windows and doors crept up by a mere £200. And the central heating stayed at £1,200. Fixtures and fittings increased by a mere £250. And with fees rising to £3,300, the total came in at £11,000. And I don't think you can spend that little if you hope to hit the ceiling price.
You were hoping to get £80,000 at the beginning of this.
Initially, we said 75 or above would be good, but we thought maybe we could push it up to 80.
Really?
And prices on the street at the moment are 80, so...
So what do you reckon you would be able to get for it?
I would have hoped 80.
80,000 would now still only fetch the boys an £11,000 gross profit. Let's hope the agents think the property stands up to the competition.
Good start with a sticky door.
Nice, bright, welcoming. Could see a young family living here.
Good place to put the dining room at the front.
Just a shame, this area. I think if they'd have blocked that in, it would have made, you know, a big difference. It just looks very untidy.
Fireplace. Not sure if that's working.
Good size, but it's just the walls. They've not finished them off very well.
Plaster on the ceiling. Could have been with re-skimming properly.
I value the property at £74,000.
In today's market, price of this property, £75,000.
I value this property at £77,000.
We have had 3 agents round to value the property, and they have come in at 74,000, 75,000 and 77,000. So how do you feel about
Like I say, anything over 75, it's still a few grand profit and it's good experience, and like we say, we never thought we was going to get a massive profit.
The boys bought the house for £58,000. They spent £11,000 doing it up. And if they sell for the top valuation of £77,000, they'll make just £8,000 profit. That's a tiny £4,000 each.
Was it worth the hard work over the last 5 months for that, or not?
We're coming to with the project with our eyes open to make a profit, you know, and hopefully to gain some knowledge about the industry.
But we said at the start that even if we lost, it wasn't that big of a deal.
Well, the whole project's been a learning process, and I think we've come away a lot wiser than when we went in. So
we like each other less.
That's one good thing.
Over a year later, after 3 offers for £78,000 fell through, the boys are renting the property out. In Telford, 8 weeks over the 3-month schedule, our team of 4 are making one big final push to get through to the end of the development. It hasn't always been an easy ride, and they're about to find out if ultimately the game plan was right or wrong.
You were trying to finish this in 3 months, and you actually finished it in 5. Nothing to do with the project manager being on holiday all the time, then?
Absolutely not. Well, maybe. I don't know.
In Telford, the schedule has now slipped by 2 months, but our gang of 4 have finally got through to the end of the development. And the outside, at least, is quite a result. A new paint job, contemporary glazing and new paving have turned the outdated 70s exterior into what could be a fashionable piece of 21st century architecture.
Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
This looks fantastic. Hey, you must be really proud. How do you feel about the way it looks now?
I think it looks fabulous.
You were trying to finish this in 3 months and you actually finished it in 5. What were the reasons for that mainly, do you think?
The windows did set us back a bit.
Nothing to do with the project manager being on holiday all the time, then?
Absolutely not. Well, maybe. I don't know.
The project may have overrun, but if the outside is anything to go by, the inside should be quite something. And it doesn't disappoint. Reorganising the layout upstairs has created a far more spacious living area that flows pleasingly into the kitchen diner. And next door, there's the proper master suite this property has always lacked. The styling throughout has a clinical modern edge, set off, I think, rather successfully by the occasional bold statement.
God, this is very smart. Great. So it's great now because you're zoned with the kitchen and sitting room at this end and the bedrooms and bathroom at that end, which is the perfect solution for a layout for a house, isn't it? It's absolutely spot on. And I noticed you did get the red sofas.
Yes,
we did. Ring a bell?
We did. The girls have done all the design and the dressing and the layout, and in fair play to them, they've done a sterling job.
Yeah, got some praise there. That's good.
Nice.
That one. It's on film. You can keep it forever.
Downstairs, the 2 cleaned-up bedrooms complete the inside of the property. While out back, there's one last piece to this package I can't wait to see. It may have been the most controversial part of the development, but I think the new decking is also the most successful.
This decking was a bit of a nightmare, wasn't it?
To start with, yeah. It was.
But you've ended up with a lovely, lovely space. I'm absolutely certain that this is going to make a huge difference.
The reality is it has to, because their original £35,000 budget rose to £59,000, meaning the stakes have been raised all round.
Now, you were hoping to sell it for £280,000, which would, on your original figures, have made you a £35,000 profit, but due to your overspend, would now make you an £11,000 profit. And how much do you think it's now worth?
I don't know. I hope it'll push to 3.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah, we'd like to break the 300.
So 3 is where you're aiming?
300,000 is the aim, but will the agents think they're on target?
It's definitely a striking property. It's got the curbside appeal. I think it'll definitely draw people in off that.
This is an excellent sized entertaining room. It's really nice.
It's a fantastic bathroom. It's really been well done. They've not cut any corners at all.
Very stylish, very well presented.
And into the master bedroom, it is a good size. You've got a large dressing area, which definitely adds value.
Wow, I like that. That has made a hell of a lot of difference to this rear garden.
They've turned an unusable garden into a usable garden, and what a view, it's a view to die for.
I would put this property on the market at £285,000.
I would market this property at £300,000.
I value this property at £310,000.
Now, we have had 3 valuations of the house, and they came in at £285,000, £300,000 and £310,000.
Cool. That's good.
How do you feel about those?
Relieved. Yeah, relieved. Yeah, relieved.
Really?
Yeah.
The property was bought for £210,000. The budget rose to £59,000. And if they sell for the top valuation of $310,000, that would make them a £41,000 gross profit to be split 4 ways. The market is cooling though, and that means finding a buyer as soon as possible.
It's modern, isn't it, and clean?
Yeah. I like the big windows as well. They're going to let plenty of light in, aren't they? Oh, it's a nice big room, Cliff. Oh, I love the fire. And the colour of the wall.
Oh, yes, I like these. It's the feeling of spaciousness is very nice.
I like the light effect down there.
That's a lovely feature, isn't it?
Very modern.
Oh, that's nice. Ooh, look at that. I've never seen one that big before.
There, look, it's beautiful, isn't it?
It is.
And it's definitely having the decking made a difference to using the garden, because that's quite steep.
Yeah.
I think I would come back for second viewing.
I would be interested in coming back and putting an offer.
It's a nicely presented house. It's finished beautifully.
That's about as positive as it gets. This property should fly off the shelf.
Have you enjoyed this process or not really?
Every single job I've took on in there, you think, OK, I'll knock this out in a couple of days, it'll be done. A week. It's just insane, you know.
We've decided it has its own space-time continuum.
Yeah, the black hole that is paradise.
Yeah. So would you like to do another one?
Sure. Yes.
Yes.
Definitely.
I want to do a big one.
Right, so...
I think it would be managed a little bit different in terms of, you know, our time and efforts. We couldn't do it on evenings and weekends alone. I think it'd have to be... We may bring more people in and do it that way and...
Or bite the bullet and make it the career.
Well, I think you've done a fantastic job, and it's a real credit to you, so well done.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks a lot.
Happy days.
The team in Telford show that developing with friends can work, but I'm not sure that the Mansfield project was really worth the aggro. If you're determined to give it a go, one word of advice: take care when choosing your development and take even more care when choosing your friends. Next week, we catch up with Mike Gregory in Clevedon, who's determined to build a property empire. So basically, you're funding developing through credit cards and Porsches?
But then I haven't got a Porsche anymore, have I? So
Because you sold it to pay for development?
To make some money.